Thanks very much for coming along to our session on community currencies and how we revitalize our economies with them to create a saner monetary system. My name's Josh Ryan Collins. I'm a senior researcher at the New Economics Foundation based in London, which is the NEI's sister, mother, father institute, whatever you'd like to call it. And joining me today is Edgar Kampers from Coin, which is a Dutch community currency agency, and we've actually been working together for the last 4 or 5 years on how we scale up, how we professionalize, how we take community currencies into the next generation. And I just want to make a few brief points about why it's so important that we get it right now. You'll be familiar with this, but I think it's just worth re-emphasizing. The current monetary system has been described by a Greek economist recently as a system of bankruptocracy. Essentially, the organizations in charge of creating and allocating money and credit in our economy are bankrupt, being propped up by the state, and we're doing a pretty awful job of it even before we got to the financial crisis in 2008. So we have a dysfunctional monetary system, and we can't afford to wait around for government to sort out this problem. That's been demonstrated quite clearly over the last 3 or 4 years. These are the problems it creates: systemic volatility and vulnerability, redistribution of wealth, upward inequality, this is an enormously inefficient waste. We've got here the founder of Time Bank sitting at the front of the room. This is a system that fundamentally undervalues people's time, people's labor, people's skills. It also fails to value energy and nature and the natural environment that we have all around us. This is a system that has to be changed, and changed fast. How do we make that happen? Me and Edgar are going to talk to you about 2 projects, one which led very much into the other, which are really about taking community currencies and local money schemes to the next stage and beyond the kind of green or social niche that they've occupied for too long, in our opinion. How do you turn community currencies into something bigger? How do you turn them into so that the agencies that we want to work with, the stakeholders that are suffering the same problems, whether it's municipalities, local government, small business, housing associations, public sector actors that are currently being crushed by this regime of austerity that we're seeing in Europe and to some extent in the US. How do we bring them with us on the journey rather than just seeing us as a little niche here, a little hippie enclave over there, and make what we do a key part of their strategy for progressive change? So we're going to talk a bit about technology because we do think that's key. How do we enable the advances in the internet and particularly mobile phones? How do we exploit those developments? And how do we professionalize what we're trying to do? How do we ensure that it fits the legal and compliancy requirements? We need to understand, we need to be on top of that, and we need to create systems that are going to be financially sustainable without taking the route that the banks have taken, which is to take advantage of that power of credit creation and exploit it for speculative gains. So my Coin and NEF got together a good sort of 2.5 years ago now to look at doing what I've just described, to look at how we might professionalize and build a structure, an infrastructure, which is made of both of the ICT, the platform, but also this more professional approach that looks in great detail at what kind of design is actually going to work, what are the needs that are required, who are the stakeholders, who are the local players we can partner with to make these schemes a success. And we used an interesting model which was all about, which I think in the US you'll probably be quite familiar with. It was a model which basically said, well, look, these guys have given us this amount of money. If you can match it, we're going to be able to do this brilliant thing that is really going to help you where you are. I mean, are you with us, or are you not interested? Rather than, we've got this brilliant idea for a complementary currency that's going to change the world, just give us a load of money and we'll do it. A completely sort of untested, unproven model. Of course, we needed the seed funding initially, and we were lucky to get that, and it was, it was a good year of writing proposals to get that initial seed funding. But then we found once we'd got that, it was a lot easier to bring in other players, and from there it was a kind of ripple effect. So we managed to get some seed funding from, in the UK, the Tudor Trust, and in Holland, the Duin Foundation, Stichting Duin. And with that money, we were able to go to other key players, such as the municipality in London, where the Brixton Pound is based, such as Bristol Credit Union and the City Council there. And Rob and Edgar have been successful in raising funds from housing associations, from healthcare insurance companies to build these models. So we use that kind of leveraged funding model very successfully. And that's how we brought these partners into play, really. And what we've developed is an ICT platform and a full legal and compliancy investigation. We built a team of professionals, including lawyers at European level and at UK level, to ensure that what we were proposing was all above board. And we've also had funds for each of the pilot areas to invest in very professional engagement with people on the ground using Twitter and social media and all those tools that we have today. I'm going to run through now exactly how this model works and just give you a demonstration. And the first, and just to be clear, the funding was to test this platform for 3 pilots in the UK, one of which was the Brixton Pound, for which I'm one of the founders. And there was another scheme in Bristol called the Bristol Pound, slightly confusingly similar names. And we're currently just working out the 3rd pilot in the UK. And there was the same in Holland. We had 3 different pilots. And Rob will be talking more about the Dutch pilots in tomorrow's session on time banking. So the platform that we developed was based upon Cyclos, which was developed by the Social Trade Organization, a Dutch NGO which does a lot of work in developing countries, particularly in South America. And so that's a tested system. It's very secure, uses the same kind of technologies as modern banks. What we did is we built a front end onto it that's very user friendly, which I'm going to show you, which is just like using an online banking system, and much more suitable for the sort of web-savvy customers you have in Northern Europe. The system allows for multiple payment channels. The one I'm about to show you is SMS-based payment. So you send a text to the server, to the internet, to make the payment to the shop with a form of identity showing who you are, and then both the business and you get the text confirming the payment has been made. But there's multiple other payment channels as well. You can make payment online. We're developing an app so that you can use an app on your iPhone to make the payment, and other systems are underway. The technology itself does allow for multiple different currencies to run at the same time. So we're using, for the one I'm going to show you, the Brixton Pound and the Bristol Pound are both sterling-backed currency models, a 1-for-1 exchange rate. But you can also use time banking systems with it, let schemes. They've been run before on Cyclos, and so the system is capable of running that as well. There's compatibility with social media, as I mentioned. So it's a great system, and I'm just going to show you a little video we made in Brixton. This is the current director of the Brixton Pound going down to Brixton Market and buying some fruit and vegetables. Okay, so I'll just talk a bit more about the actual system itself in Brixton, in the Brixton context. We currently have, the Brixton Pound was launched 2 years ago in 2009, 3 years ago now. So we have 200 businesses. And initially it was a paper currency, much like the Berkshire's system. But in September 2011, we introduced this mobile payment system that allows you to make payments sending text messages. And we've now got 60 businesses accepting electronic Brixton Pounds, and we have around, I think, 120 users. So it's still at a small scale, but it's growing, and via word of mouth in particular, more and more people are using it. You can set up a standing order, so I get 70 Brixton pounds coming into my bank account every month. I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to go to an exchange point and give them sterling and get paper money back. It just comes straight into my account. The system also allows you to create a bonus, so that when I put 10 sterling in, I get 11 Brixton pounds coming into my account. And that's what the electronic system does. We can change that bonus anytime we want. Very, very easy step. Knock it down to 5, put it up to 20. And when businesses take the money, if they respend it within the circle with other businesses, they maintain that bonus, so nothing changes. But if they choose to change the money back into sterling, their 10% is then removed. So there's a strong incentive to take it back. Thank you.
So we are almost finishing this interesting project with NEF, but of course we were thinking that we wanted to go further and that all this technique that we built in this project should be tested in larger scale. So we tried to find new partners and see if we were able to upscale the whole thing, and we did. And we were recently successful in getting money from the European Union. It's $8 million in total. It's a 3 years project, and we do this together with the Lambeth, which is a part of the City of London, the City of Amsterdam. We have the Welsh voluntary action. What is it?
The Welsh voluntary, the Council for Voluntary Action.
This is the one. We have the province of Limburg in Belgium, and we have the cities of, we have the No Economics Foundation, Coin, Spice, which is a time banking organization, and MyCO2. And to give you an idea, we are going to do 2 green currencies, 2 economical currencies, and 2 social currencies. So we think we have most of the spectrum. The green currencies are in Belgium, which is called the e-portemonnee or e-wallet. I'm giving you a slide on this one. It's MyCO2, which is a CO2 reduction scheme. The 2 economical currencies are the Brixton pound. You just got this presentation. And we are going to build an SME network. I also have some slides on this one. And the 2 social currencies are built by Spice in Wales, which is 3 social currencies built by electricity, which is locally produced, interesting model, and the Makkie in Amsterdam. And tomorrow you can get a full presentation on the Makkie in Amsterdam and things which are happening in the Netherlands. We will again look at the legal framework. We know that for some of the economical currencies we have to become, we have to get an e-license, as we call it in Europe. This is quite a difficult thing, and none of the community currency organizations did this up to now. So we might be the first one that is going for this. And again, we are going to see if we can integrate the ICT systems. So we have this beautiful payment system, for example, but in Limburg there's already another system which is used by 7 municipalities. This will be upscaled, and they want to continue to use their own systems. So we try to integrate the whole thing. And we build up a community of practice where we bring in all the people that are doing this type of stuff, including people outside our own project. So basically our meetings will be partly open for other people that are working on community currencies in a professional way, also from the US. So if you're interested, you can fly over or find all the information. We also do trainings, coaching, and give all this information on the legal stuff, which is probably the most interesting part. And yeah, I'm going to give you some overview again of the partners. You see almost the same, including Interreg, which we have to present at least once in every presentation. Is the Stichting Doen again, which is the main funder for us, and the Toekomtrust, which was the main funder for the Economies Foundation. So 2 examples. The first one is the e-wallet. This is basically an incentive scheme for people to make sure that they behave a little more green. In the case of e-wallet, it's done by the waste company of 43 municipalities in Belgium in total. And these 43 municipalities are going to give points to people who separate the waste better, or who start composting at home, or that start to buy green products. A lot of examples there. And these incentives then can be spent on the swimming pool, culture, education, sports, etc. And they use, and that's very special, they use the national ID card, so almost like a passport in Belgium. It's slightly further developed than in many other countries, but in Belgium everybody is having this public card, and you use it to do the whole thing. The other example is a more economical one, and it's based on a model which is developed by the Social Trade Organization. You heard their name before, because they deliver also large parts of the software that we use. They currently run a Uruguay program where the state is involved, including some ministries and some large organizations, where small and medium-sized enterprises are able to use the currency to pay for taxes, energy bills, fuel like gasoline, this type of stuff, public transport, and many, many other things. And the development of this whole program is paid by many Western donors, including the Dutch Ministry of Development, but also the European Union, the World Bank, and the UNDP. And I think there are some American funders also behind this scheme. It's the first community currency that we know of, which is on the national level, which includes basically all major stakeholders within one country. It's just in the startup phase now. There are a lot of problems in being able to go to the scale where you need to do this. But again, this one proves that you can do a multi-stakeholder, with a multi-stakeholder approach, trying to get in all the other stakeholders, not just the grassroots, and go to the level that we think we need if we really want to change something. This is the only, I think, difficult slides that we have. I can speak for a very long time about it. Rob can even speak longer on this one, but it's basically explaining what we do. So in most economic community currencies that we know, we have a closed system. So people pay each other within an internal unit of account, and this is a closed system, like a barter exchange or the VIR. This is not the case here. In this case, we have a company that is going to sell its product, for example, to a municipality, and the municipality will pay, but this takes a long period. The Ministry of Finance pay after 90 days, and this is a problem, because if you have to wait for 90 days, but if you have to pay your own, the companies where you buy stuff from faster, then you have a period where you have a lack of liquidity. So to solve this problem, we have the C3. And the C3 gives this small or medium-sized enterprise the money immediately, but not in normal euros in our case. It will be given in network euros. And these network euros can only be spent at one of the other companies within the network. Of course, after a while, there will be one company, this company, that has to pay tax, or you have to pay an energy bill, and there's no energy company yet in the network, or something like this. Then this company is able to bring the community currency to the C3 organization, get the money, so they are able to pay their tax. There's a lot more to tell about this model, but I'm not certain if we should do it. Okay? Yes?
Yeah, I was wondering.
Well, it sounds like you're basically creating a currency around factoring, or accelerating payment on a transaction that's already occurred. And so the member can exchange that within the system. Can he also, as Josh was saying earlier, exchange that then out of the system with the national currency?
It is true. This is a combination of factoring and what you see in larger companies, where you have one holding company and many companies, for example McDonald's, where you see this hamburger going through the whole system, but the money is already in the center. So it's a combination of those two, and every company is always able to go to the C3 organization and exchange it back for dollars or euros or whatever, but they have to pay a fee if they do so. So if you want to avoid the fee, then you spend it within the network, which is then the cheaper option, but then of course the network should be large enough. And in the case of Uruguay, this network includes tax payments, energy payments, so there is no need at all to go abroad or outside the system. In the one that we are starting up in Northwest Europe, we are going to build in as much as we can a larger system with partners and everybody in there, but we do not have a situation where we can pay the tax yet. That would be an interesting one.
That's it. Essentially, there's more information here if you want to find out more about what we're up to. But it's over to you guys, really. We wanted this to be a really interactive session because we know there's a lot of really good people in the audience. So fire away. Try and make them questions if possible rather than long statements.
First question is yes, no, short. Is the software open source?
Yeah, yes, it's open source. The problem is that it's not very difficult to download the program and to do what you want to do with the program. The thing is that most people will not be able to manage this well. So you need an expert that's supporting you, but if you have a very strong team that's able to do most of it, then you can come very far. The moment you go to something where you need certain knowledge to do it, then you probably need partners. For example, a lot of the currencies you can imagine are not legal, also not in the US. So if you want to do that, you better work together with somebody who understands how this works. Otherwise you do something which is illegal, which is not very difficult, and I think we should try to avoid it. So the answer is yes, but like with many other programs or very complex programs, it's better to do it together with somebody who's having the experience.
I just wanted to add to that because I've developed a currency using Cyclus in the United States. It's called FarmStand. It's a food currency, vtfarmstand.org. It was very easy to download. You do need, like they say, somebody who's a bit more of an expert to help you set it up on an Apache server. But I'm not really sure what you mean by illegal. There's plenty of possibilities of developing currencies in the United States that are not illegal. They are taxable sometimes. So if you implement a currency without setting up a system whereby people know they may need to pay taxes on them, you might be getting them in trouble. But there's fundamentally nothing illegal, essentially, about developing complementary currencies, as long as you don't make them look like dollar bills, you know.
So the problem starts when you do an electronic currency. That means that you have, for example, like the Berkshire does. I'm using my dollars and I buy Berkshires. If I do this electronically and the scale is quite large, then at least in Europe, you have to be under what they call the Electronic Money Directive. You have to. And as far as I know, these type of things are also happening in the US, but I don't know where the exact rules are here. But this is something you have to focus on clearly. So as long as you stick to the mutual credit model, like in LEDs or time banking or bartering, there is no problem. But these models have a lot of limitations also. And it's not always the best model for a certain goal that you like to reach or for a certain target group that you want to work with. The other one is that, sometimes you have to pay tax. The more professional you are, the more likely this is. The more social you are, the less likely this is. For time banking, it's not taxable almost in every country, except Belgium, we find out now. And a commercial currency is always taxable. And the same is also true for other things which you have to organize quite well, like privacy, for example. Before we know we are like Facebook, and we are maybe doing stuff but that we don't like ourselves, if it's about us. So what about our target groups? So we have to be very clear, I think, about these type of issues.
This isn't for any particular person, but I was just wondering, like, what are the boundaries of these projects? Like, if it's Uruguay, would you possibly replace the national currency at some point? I mean, what boundaries do you have on these projects in terms of your goals or your vision for them?
So I've two questions. One, quickly, will your slideshow be up on your website so that we could, like download it and look at some of these links without having to write them down? So that's question number one. Question number two, so you have 6 projects. This is very exciting and very expanding for the whole field of new systems for the creation of money. Do you have metrics for each one of these 6 different projects? That, in other words, what does success look like at the end?
Yeah, I was just curious if you guys are looking into increasing the investability of these currencies. Are you guys have schemes in mind to where I can plan my future around these currencies? You know, can I invest a portion of my 401k? Do you kind of have these paradigms being worked?
Yeah, so on the scale issue, these are complement. I would call them complementary currencies. They're not about replacing national currencies. They're about filling in the gaps that the national currency, leaves behind, really, and enhancing the efficiency of the financial and the economic system to deliver social and ecological goals fundamentally. And just to emphasise what Edgar was saying. The journey that we've been along, particularly with the Brixton and Bristol schemes, which were the first schemes essentially to go electronic, involved discussions with the authorities. So with Bristol in particular, where there is a credit union holding the deposits for the Bristol pounds, They were called into the Bank of England to explain exactly what we were doing there. The Financial Services Authority was there, the Treasury was there. So we've got some brilliant learning around how you get these schemes to fit with the existing regulatory infrastructure, which we hope to share and scale up. And it's all about just finding that point at which you can basically kind of get away with it, but bring the authorities with you. So I hope that answers that question. On the metrics question, it's a very good question, and actually NEF's main role in the project, the Interreg EU project, is to do research and evaluation and then to communicate the lessons of that in terms of policy. The EU doesn't fund stuff unless it's all the information is publicly available and there's some fairly rigorous evaluation of what's gone on, because it's all about how do we scale these things up so that they become genuine policy instruments, at an EU level for municipalities all over the EU to take advantage of. So that's the spirit of the project very much. Do you want to have a go at the last question?
Yeah, no, one point maybe on on this business-to-business currency that we are going to do, because we made a whole list, for example, in how many companies are we going to reach, and what is the percentage of the total turnover that is going into this system. So, of course, we are not certain that we will reach it, but we are heading for 1,800 companies in the 2 years that we are going to test, where these companies go to around 8% of their turnover within the system. And we think that's doable, but it will be hard to, because it will be new for us. The second question is, are these the currencies which basically finish the whole discussion? And the answer is no, not at all, because we developed several other currencies that we think are going much further even in scope and in what they can reach. And some of them are in the cultural domain, and the one where the question was about is more in the, say, the resilience domain or whatever. So we think that the currencies that we are going to develop in the new programs that we do are focusing on local food production, local energy production, local water production, and these type of stuff, which is then backing the currency which is in circulation. But it means that the money you are saving for your old age is not going to a pension fund, in a euro fund or in a dollar fund, so you're not certain what happens, but it will be then in this local cooperative that's investing it in your own local economy, in the stuff that you need when you are old, and then you live from your own investments basically. So we think that this is a whole new generation of currency starting up, and this is currently in the research phase, and it would be brilliant if we found a partner in the US that likes to be part of the whole think tank and to see how we have to do this, because this is never done as far as we know before.
The currency that you described is really a way of dealing with the liquidity issue problems that small businesses face, and presumably that will help to promote local business and keep currency in that community, like ethic hours and so forth. But I'm not sure that I understand all of the social objectives you hope to serve by that currency. So that's one question, sort of what's the range of objectives you have? And the second is, what do you see as the relationship and the possible synergy between that currency and what you're calling social currencies like time banking, and how can we increase that, the ways in which they reinforce each other?
So first, we don't think, although we're not certain, but we don't think that it is wise to have only one currency or two or three. We don't know how many is logical. Maybe it's 4 or 5, I'm not certain. Probably we need the dollar to buy a computer. We need a regional currency for energy and food production. We need a social currency because I like to take care of people in my own neighborhood. And we might need an incentive scheme to make sure that we change the behavior of people into a sustainable direction. This is already 4 currencies. I'm not certain if it's only 4. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, it's too much. Maybe we have to merge several of them. So the only thing we can say is we will have a period in the near future where we will have multi-currencies which are all having their own purpose. If we mix them too fast, then we will probably not reach all our goals, which might not be a good way of doing it. But the only thing is, let's try out and find out, because we are not certain.
Yeah, I would just sort of reflecting on the European experience right now. We are facing this sort of draconian austerity regime, which means that we do have to do everything we can to stimulate demand in different parts of Europe. But at the same time, this regime actually offers some opportunities to rethink public services to an extent, and to think about how you get people to be a bit more active in the design and delivery of those services, what we call co-production at the New Economics Foundation, which Edgar's been involved in. And tomorrow we'll be going into this in a lot more depth in the workshop with Rob van Hilton, where he'll be talking about the models in Holland, where we've got healthcare insurance companies involved in funding the schemes. So there's a genuine kind of commercial opportunity. There's a genuine opportunity to persuade agencies, particularly public sector agencies, who are looking for how they can get more from an increasingly small amount of budget in terms of delivering better services. There's a real opportunity to use the kinds of technology and approaches we've been talking about. It's actually harder to get funding in a way for the business currencies, and that's where I think we really need to look at bringing with us representatives of small business agencies, whether it's chambers of commerce, as we call them in the UK, or other organisations representing small firms. Let's have some questions from the back.
It's more of an offer to learn together on this topic, because I run a time bank in Dane County, Madison, Wisconsin, and we're about to be exploring how we connect some business-oriented and also community-directed lending, granting kinds of things together. And we're hosting a monthly work and learn series that we're inviting people to participate with us online, like just recognizing that we're all looking for answers to similar questions and explore that together. And those are September and October, and I would be happy to have any of you join us virtually or share in the preparation for that in advance, or whatever you want to do to learn with us together. So I have schedules for that if you want.
Great, thanks very much. I'm sure we'll take you up on that. And myself and Rob van Hilton, who's just here, and Edgar will be around for the next couple of days. So do just come and grab us. Thanks very much for listening so patiently. And let's do it.